All right, it's ongoing. Just a second. I think we're all good. Perfect. Thank you so much for watching the Sashiko Talk. This is the number fourth one, and this is Atsushi, and we have Caroline and Sharon for today's guest. Thank you so much for having. Thank you so much for watching the Sashiko Talk. This is the YouTube live streaming where we talk about Sashiko while stitching Sashiko or doing something, or you just even talking. That's really, it's the moment, it's the community, it's the time, it's a place to appreciate or to talk about, to enjoy Sashiko. Is it better than last time? I hope I'm getting better. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh,
I can
okay.
hear.
I can hear you. Yes.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. How are you? How are you, both of you? How are both of you? Was it very big snow?
Yes, we got 24 inches so far and it's still snowing. And I am up in my bedroom on the second floor and it's piled up on the roof and blocking a quarter of my windows.
Seriously?
Very
Oh my
strange.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my. I hope it's not gonna come to the Pennsylvania.
And you know what? If you're the youngest one in the house, you get to do the shoveling.
Yep.
But sadly, my dad does the driveway with a snowblower, so that's good.
That's good. We are the family of three, so there's no choice. I have to do it. With the we probably should get a snowblower, but our driveway is not that big, so it's a little difficult choice. How are you, Caroline?
I'm good, except
Good,
I'm sorry
good.
I'm not stitching. I heard
That's all
I'm
right.
having a little bit of a repetitive stress injury hand problem, so I'm taking a short couple week break so
That's
that I
good.
can come back stronger than ever with my stitching.
But thank you so much for coming. This is a great talk. I will ask probably a lot of questions then.
Okay,
All
I'm
right.
ready.
So I kind of had a topic today. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, please write on the comment. So we might be able to pick up the comments and talk about it. And just a second, okay? Where did I put it? How can I do this? Oh, there we go. I found it. So I added topic. I added the theme, needlework as something to receive and give in tradition. For me, Sashiko is very much fortune, privilege, or even it was a curse before because I didn't like Sashiko at all. But it was something I received from my family, and I am kind of sharing right now. And I sometimes wonder if this happens in other culture, and I'm sure that it happens in other culture as well. In Japan, like not many family actually pass down sashiko at all anymore. Um, it's very, how can I say, the Japanese decided to discontinue sashiko way back ago. Not many families practice that anymore. And I think all over the world, the same thing's happening. People choose to not to do it. People choose to not to pass it down because they don't have to. They decided to not to do it. So I just wanted to hear other stories about the needlework. If you have anything in your family, do you have something that you received from your family, Caroline?
Yeah, so my mother taught me how to sew,
Oh,
hand stitching when I was little, and then how to use a sewing machine when I was a little bit older. So my mother was an art teacher, and one of the things she did was she taught kids as little as 8, 9, 10 years old how to make their own quilts.
wow.
And so, yeah, so I learned, she did that after I was a little bit older. She didn't, but she was an art teacher through my childhood. So yeah, she taught me how to do those things. And then when I was much older, when I was an adult, she taught me how to knit as well. So there's definitely, for me, it's definitely linked with my mom. All the stitching and all the crafts that I do.
So you're from that family then? It's like a
So my-
yeah.
Yeah, so my mom taught me how to do all of that stuff. Yeah. And weirdly enough, my mother my mother's mother was not a craftsperson, did not know how to make anything. But my dad's mother was also a quilter and a sewer and she made a lot of her own clothes and a knitter.
Wow.
So but my dad didn't learn to do any of those things, but of course, because back in that day, men were not doing that, but mostly.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I kind of have it on both sides, I guess, although I learned from my mom. But I do have a really lovely memory of when I was, again, probably 10 years old, making a wrap skirt. It was the 70s, so I made a wrap skirt with my grandmother at her house on Long Island when I was a kid. So yeah,
it's a good memory then.
No, it's lovely. Yeah,
it's a lovely memory.
It's a lovely
story.
Yeah.
Did they force you to do it, or they encourage?
No,
you
not at all. Not at all. No.
That's the beautiful things. Because I was forced. That's another reason I hated it.
That's right. Of course. Yeah.
Wow.
No. I wanted to learn all that stuff, and I love. Yeah. So.
Do you think those stitching culture or it's a, I hope this question makes sense, but do you know that if there's any names that you received, like any names for the technique or any names of the practice that you received?
Oh, like anything specialized, you mean?
Well, like Sashiko is very ordinary for me, but special outside of the Japan.
Yeah,
So,
no, I mean, no, it was just sewing, sewing, machine sewing by hand, and then sewing machine sewing. Nothing specific.
It's interesting because, it didn't have, Sashiko is kind of famous and Sashiko became unique because it's a foreign language.
Yeah.
The Japanese people decided to discontinue that stitching. Probably they didn't call it Sashiko in the origin. They probably categorized it into one word. So, we categorized hand sewing as the one big category, and we call it hand sewing.
Yeah.
So that's probably what Sashiko was. So I'm kind of trying to learn etymology. Is it etymology?
Yeah, etymology, the origin of words. Yeah.
Yeah, I met a kind of shibori teacher, Miss Yoshiko Wada.
Oh, I know who that is.
Oh, she is gonna have a talk session with me this weekend, and I'm learning a lot from her. But she's very much into etymology, and I didn't know that word. So, and I kind of feel like, is there anything that we may be able to find today, yet you kind of lost it in the process? In the US, outside of the US, anywhere in the world. So in India, probably Kanta is one of the example. In Japan, Sashiko is one example. I just was wondering if there's anything in the US.
Yeah, I recently learned actually about something I had never heard of before called sprang, which is SPRANG. And supposedly it was used in the Middle Ages and all up until the Industrial Revolution. And also in some parts of Eastern Europe, they still do it. But basically, it's like a sort of weaving method where you're weaving these individual strands together. So it's almost like a mix. It's a cross between sort of knitting and weaving. And you can make belts, you can make garments, and I had never heard of that before. Go ahead. But it's a very traditional craft made with thread or yarn, and it had disappeared essentially, and now there's a woman who's bringing it back.
Can you spell it again?
SPRANG. Sprang.
Wow. See, that's the thing. We have to do this kind of things too. Like each family has each tradition, each culture should have, not a should, probably had those words, those names for that.
Yeah.
So, I want them to find it. So this is not a yours, right? This is something European. You said,
No,
in
I
the
just
US.
listened to a woman give a 1 hour talk about it.
Ooh, I want to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, if you go to, I think it's at thespranglady.com, something like that. She has a website.
Wow, spranglady.com.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very easy. I should do like sashikoman.com or something like that. I made a mistake. Wow. Yeah, so that's the, needlework, hand stitching exists every single culture. It's not only in Japan, it's only in the US. Wherever the people were, we had this similar culture. So it's kind of nice to understand the difference. Did you receive something, Sharon, or in your childhood?
Well, both of my grandmothers were very good seamstresses and made a lot of their own clothes and taught people how to sew, but not me. My mother hates to sew. I mean, she will get me to hem her pants or to do anything. So that's fine because I enjoy it. She doesn't like it. So I have my grandmother's Bernina sewing machine now, but she never taught me how to use it. She did a lot of quilting in her later years, but again, she never taught that. And I think I did a lot of embroidery when I was a kid, but with lots of different stitches, and I would like take a painting and then put it on the back of a shirt or something. But it wasn't Sashiko stitching. And then I just sort of would learn to do things when I wanted to be able to kind of figure out how. And then I think I have taught my daughter how to do quilting, and I've taught some other people. I've sat and stitched with them because they wanted to learn Sashiko stitching, and I'll just, sit with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I don't think anybody really passed it down to me. Any of this. Oh, and I remember taking home ec in junior high. It was horrible. We had to make the worst projects, the worst food, the worst sewing projects. I broke more needles than you would believe on the sewing machine. And and I love to cook and I like to sew, but boy, I hated that class. That was when they made the boys take shop and the girls had to take home ec. Ugh.
Oh, that's
That was maybe like your experience of learning to sew from your family, only it was worse for you because it was your family. You couldn't get away from them at all.
interesting. Do you know why your grandparents tried to not to teach you that?
I never asked them to teach me. I think in our culture, you have to seek the knowledge. You have to go after it. And then ask, and then then I'm sure that they would have taught me.
Interesting. Probably the same. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I think as a kid, I was more interested in animals and riding and being outside than sitting and sewing.
I also think, certainly for my grandmother, and probably for yours too, sewing often was something that you did out of financial necessity. It was my grandmother certainly made her own clothes because it was cheaper than buying them.
Right.
Right. Especially my mother's mother.
Yeah, and so it's a sign of prosperity to not have to teach your kid to sew in a way, right? Or it means you're doing well financially if you don't have to actually make your own clothes. And now it's come around, obviously, to doing it for pleasure, but I don't know. Maybe there was a mindset of
probably it's a generation gap. I don't want to say the generation gap, but that's the generation difference that they didn't want to share that, pass down that, because that's out of the kind of suffering for that matter.
Yeah.
So I got some comments. I'm going to read it out. When I was a child, I learned to do golden from two women who owned Gobelin. I'm sorry. Gobelin. Goblen. Gobelin.
Yeah.
I believe it's French.
It's French. It's it's a famous neighborhood in Paris where there were a lot of textile traditions.
Joblin? Then it's probably Joblin.
Gobelin.
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. There's a Frenchie. It's called needlepoint in the US. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Oh, needlepoint. Yeah.
That's beautiful art too. I don't know if it's called
Very.
art or not, but
It's very beautiful.
it's black. No, it's the black.
No.
thread.
It's on canvas.
No, it doesn't
It's
have
like-
to be black.
Oh, it doesn't have to be black.
It's
Okay.
sort of like half of cross stitch in the same direction over and over and over. So it's a slanted stitch next to each other.
And it's kind of dot.
No,
make
it French
that's
knot.
that's called black work. That's something else.
Okay.
There is a thing called black work,
See,
but that's not what that is. That's
Okay,
not
okay.
what we're talking about.
Oopsie. Oh,
Here, wait.
One
I have
grandmother
a
did teach me to do needlepoint.
I have a needlepoint canvas. Here, I'll show it to you.
Thank you. See, I'm learning a lot.
This is needlepoint.
It's almost always done with
Holy-
wool.
Yeah,
Oh my-
this is wool needlepoint.
Wait, is it stitched?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. How close can I get?
Oh, so it's like a,
That shows the canvas
Oops. Okay.
and it's
there.
wow. Wow.
So this is gonna. So it's this super tiny canvas that you use wool to stitch with.
Probably it's one stitch by one stitch, is it?
Yeah. You do
Yes.
each stitch individually,
Oh, I
and it's gonna be a pillow eventually.
Sincere respect. Wow.
Oh, and there's another thing called crewel,
And
which is a kind of embroidery. Oh, wait, that's always done with wool, I think. Is that right?
I
I've
think
never done
so.
crewel.
I have a little.
Okay. So there are a lot of these sorts of European textile traditions.
they are a little bit different each other, though. That's my
Yeah.
understanding. Interesting. And they do have names, right? That's kind of,
Yeah.
there's not like very vivid boundaries,
Yeah.
but probably they all have sort of a definition / cultural respect, I would say.
Yeah. There's do you know Bargello? Wait, I have a here. Hold on. I have a book somewhere on
That's a
Bargello.
kind of needlepoint where you do longer stitches. That's fun.
What?
I've never done
Has more
Bargello, but I've
texture.
been wanting to. Anyway, there's all there's a lot of specialized needlework.
So that's kind of got to my question. Like, why do people start calling everything Sashiko? Like, I mean, I have no problem with that unless they care about those traditions or those cultures behind it. But it was very strange to me that since I knew that it was a Japanese thing that I received, I was wondering, I probably shared it in my workshop as well, but is there any names for what I do or what we share? It's kind of similar techniques, like stitching,
English?
mending.
No.
In English, no.
Well, mending, yeah. The visible mending.
But people did
Although
mending,
I think
right?
of it more as re-knitting and darning and those things. Some patching.
But those cultures of mending fabric or making the fabric stronger didn't get survived, or so.
And they did. I
So
mean,
I think they're
people did
being
it.
reinvented,
Yeah.
rediscovered.
I don't think there were specialized names for it other than mending,
Yeah, that's
but people did it for sure.
for sure, right? Like, okay. So they
Oh, yeah.
didn't really name it. Probably since they did it in the ordinary life, they didn't even have to name it. It didn't become like an
and
art. or-
again, you know, was it a little bit disgraceful that you patched the knees? I mean, I patched the knees on my kids' pants because like, little boys especially could go through knees of pants so quickly. It was like the rest of the pants is fine.
Right. Do they enjoy it? Do they like it?
They didn't get to argue. They had pants to wear.
Way to go. Way to go. That's way to go. Because I really didn't like it when I was young. I mean, there was a sign of sort of, I mean, I didn't have a choice, as you said. That or naked. So there we go. I probably prefer naked, but you don't want to go to school with naked. Oh, there's a lot of comments. Thank you so much. I will read one by one. Bear with me. From the Fabriani, my mom did a lot of sewing, and many members of her original family used to crochet and sew a lot, but they never taught me. I self-learned everything. So that's really interesting. Like, my family is very different because they try to kind of make it as a business. So I had to be able to do that. So they probably forced me to learn, but my mother never intended for me to learn. She didn't like me doing it because she probably wanted to, well, she enjoyed Sashiko, but she didn't really teach me how to do that. Although I had a lot of teachers around. And another comment is that I think the prosperity necessity mindset is very relevant. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like it's common thing. It's very ordinary things for any cultures, and that's why I want to kind of stop and think, stop and learn what you or they might have. I want needlework to be kind of connecting yourself and your memories. Doesn't have to be good memories, but do you feel that? Do you think you're kind of connecting yourself to your memories? I don't know if this question is even making sense, but
yeah, but there's a lineage that spans from down from my mother and then from my grandmother on the other side. Yeah.
Do you feel that it's like connecting?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And it's not strange to say that in English because it's kind of like a spirituality thing. Connecting those memories.
Yeah.
Spirit.
That the memories connect me to my ancestors, essentially, or
and that's not strange. That's not strange to say that. Okay.
No.
So not
me.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Good. It's interesting. Yeah, like for me, the stitching is very much the talking to myself. I don't talk to the fabric. I don't talk to myself like visually, verbally, but it's the time to think or remember, imagine, talk to the fabric as if there's something behind the fabric. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. So I just wanted to share and was wondering why. My question was, I was wondering if it is universal things, and I think it is universal. Thank you. It's so difficult to talk and stitch when I focus. Just a second. I have another.
I think more about the people, because a lot of what I'm doing is on vintage fabrics. I think more about the people who wore it and worked with it before than I do of my grandmothers as I'm sewing.
So you feel something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sure, somebody wore it out.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very natural for Japanese people to say that because we go to the shrine to pray, we clean the graves every summer to welcome the ancestors. Those are very much in the everyday, and we don't really get a chance to doubt it. Like, why do we go to shrine to pray? Why do we wash the hand before we go into the actual shrine? Those are kind of became a ritual, and we don't really have a chance to doubt it. We do it because we do it. And a lot of Sashiko is based on that. We do it because we do it, but also there are a lot of stories when we start looking into that. Like, for example, why do we have this? Why do we use this symbol? If we dig it, there are a lot of stories, but probably many Japanese people say we use it because we use it. So it's not like just use it, but there are a lot of stories behind it. And I want to know, I am very much interested in learning the different stories behind each needleworks. So, it's so interesting. So many comments. Sorry,
Right, what are people saying?
It's from Emily. It's universal thing. Stitching is meditative for me, and I think there are a lot of accounts of people throughout history stitching to give their brains and their thoughts a bit of peace. Yes, that's very. So probably this is kind of big thing to say, but stitching might bring a peaceful society to us. Like, it's really weird to say, but there are a lot of interesting people in stitching, but nobody's evil. That's my kind of definition. Like, there are a lot of interesting people. I'm not gonna say everybody's good. It's to generalize, but nobody's that evil in my understanding. Well, that's what I was saying.
Interesting.
Huh? You think it's interesting?
That's very interesting. Yeah, I can't think of anybody I think of as mean or bad that stitches.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I say when I can share Sashiko. Like, there are a lot of interesting people. Somebody is not, my favorite, or somebody is not agreeing with me, but evil is not the word we can come up with when we talk about that. It's really interesting. And there are people who like Sashiko without stitching. That's a different story. So, but that was very interesting too. Who said that?
There are studies that have been done showing that people, when they're knitting, that their brains it's almost like they're meditating, that your brain is in a very similar state to a meditation state. And I'm sure it's the same with Sashiko stitching as well.
Yes.
That your brain enters a very meditative state like that.
Like alpha wave, beta wave kind of thing?
Yeah, stuff like that, I think. Yeah.
And you said that's the
I mean,
scientific?
there was a study done on knitting.
And it's research.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm sure it's the same with Sashiko.
Yeah. That's the whole reason we brought it to the northern part of Japan after earthquake.
Oh yeah.
We see, although we don't have any researches in numbers, but we do know that it helped.
Mm-hmm.
So it was to kind of as a therapy as well as a way for them to support themselves a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So,
and build community again.
Yes, that's probably the most important thing. To have the place to get together after losing pretty much all of the stuff. I mean, you're not friend with everybody in the city, right? It's kind of too much to expect to know everybody in the city. Like if the population is about 10,000, you don't know you don't know everybody. So after the earthquake, some people lost their very good friend, became lonely by having those Sashiko community like this, like exactly like this, just not over the internet. They, have they regain the friendship with new people throughout Sashiko. That's probably the biggest thing that we could have done for that. I mean, of course, it was the way to make the money. I mean, we didn't want to, we didn't want to. By the time we started doing that, they had enough fish, they had enough food, shelter, necessary supplies, stuff like that. So we wanted to give them the fishing rod, how to fish, how to teach how to fish. So yeah, it was a very, it is still ongoing. I'm sorry, you shouldn't say it was. It is still it's very good project. If you have any chance.
They're still stitching, aren't they?
They are. They are stitching, and they will be stitching next year. They will be. If you are interested, it's Otsuji Sachiko. You can probably Google, only in Japanese, I guess, but you can Google Otsuji Sachiko. I'll put the link after this live streaming. Yeah, so it's needlework is. What was I gonna say? I tripped. Just a second, okay? What was I gonna say? Yes, the community. building the community. Sorry, I completely lost. I'll catch up myself with stitching. But it's the same in the US, I think. They have a quilting guild. It's the
Oh,
community.
yeah, and
correct?
quilting bees. Yes.
Quilting bees. There we go. Thank you. Probably I asked this question before, but there are not a lot of, but there are people who make living out of stitching in the US as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Great.
A lot of them are actually making a living from selling patterns and giving classes. And most of them are not, as far as I know, a lot of them don't make a living just from selling finished works. I mean, there are some of those, but a lot of them.
Alabama Chainin
Yes.
has all those workers that work for her, and she pays them a living wage. And then her clothes, which have a lot of running stitch embroidery, applique, and she cuts stuff away, and they're stenciled. They sell for thousands of dollars for each piece
Can I get the name?
because she's paying a reasonable wage to the workers.
Alabama.
But it's an interesting example, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very poor area of Alabama where all the paper mills shut and the textile mills shut. And she went back. She'd lived in New York, and she went back and started this to save, you know, the area where she came from.
Wow.
Is that a familiar story?
So it is Alabama. What was that?
Alabama
C-H.
Chainin. Natalie Chainin is her name.
Yeah.
And Alabama Chainin, Chanin, is the name of her business.
I will look into that. That is
Yeah, it's really interesting. She does it's all running stitch on and beading on jersey. It's almost all jersey. I've done it. It's very, very time consuming.
Wow. But
Because getting the tension right is tricky.
Wow. So that's really important. That's exactly what my family did. To kind of pass down Sashiko to, you know, sell the finished item and then pay the reasonable, which is kind of minimum wage, but you know, it's not that much money. But that's kind of
Well,
sustainable.
But and for handwork to even get minimum wage is astounding.
Yes, very much true.
In
very
many
true.
cases, people would get hardly $1 an hour.
Probably so. And that's very motivating. That's why I didn't want to come into Sashiko as well. Like, you know, from the money perspective, it's very difficult to do it. So there's
better selling the workshops and the supplies and all of that. Then there's more hope for.
It's really good. It's really good. Sorry, the cat is here, so I cannot stitch anymore. Hi, why are you here? Can you say hello? Hello.
What's his name?
Sakura.
Sakura.
It's a cherry blossom in Japanese. She's a very grumpy cat.
Is she old?
She's 2 years old.
Ooh,
And
that's young to be grumpy.
I know. I don't know how it's gonna get worse from here. But hi. Come on, Sakura. Get off. Arigato. Bye. Sakura, get off. I need to stitch. I like to stitch. Ah. I apologize. She hooked my headphone and ran away. So it's gonna be a completely different topic, but I brought another topic saying about this. There's a little bit of interesting. There was a little bit of interesting conversation in Japanese 2 weeks ago. Do you feel different time movement when you stitch? Like, does the time go faster when you stitch or slower when you stitch? Do you feel any difference when you stitch? Like, let's say 2 hours, you feel shorter or longer in comparison to the regular regular time zone, not time zone time. Like for me, like stitching is a time eater. Like every time I stitch, the time goes like this.
Yeah, I agree. That's true for me.
Okay.
2 hours can go by really fast.
So sometimes my
Me
workshop.
too.
Oh, okay, so that's a common thing. Okay, that's very good. What is going on in your brain? Like it's so. It goes so fast, and I'm so sad that it goes so fast. Let's say I have like 2 hours to stitch, but I feel like it feels like it's only 20 minutes or so. Even this live streaming stuff like that, it's very, very fast. I don't know what is going on with this hand. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you. Yeah.
I think of the stitching as very normal. And if I have to just sit, like that's one of the things if people come over and I have to sit and visit and I don't take a project down, then I'm so restless and edgy and fidgety. It's much easier for me to sit and think if my hands are busy.
Hmm. Are they okay with you stitching?
The light's not always so good.
But they're okay with like.
Yeah,
I like
they
stitching.
know.
Okay, they know. That's a good way to say that. My wife likes me stitching because I'm kind of quiet. I don't talk back. You know, I really.
You're
Go ahead.
you're content, right? You're more content when you're stitching.
Yes, I'm like a very good listener. I'm a very good listener to begin with, but I become very quiet. So it must be really tough for you, Caroline. I'm sorry that.
Yeah, it's been a rough week.
So you didn't touch anything for a week.
No crafts. I've been doing other things like cooking and cleaning and whatever, which are not great, but yeah, but no crafts.
Do you
I've
feel
been
like
planning some future crafts though in my mind.
okay. That's good. That's good. Better than nothing. Do you feel like you're craving for it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this might be torture though. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. It's fun. No, it's totally fine. But yes, I do. I miss it.
And you said another week or 2 more weeks?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I haven't made a decision. We'll see.
It must be difficult.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's how my mother came back to Sashiko. She was saying like I cannot live without it. So, but in order to kind of do Sashiko in her level, she has to create a lot of stuff. So she buys a lot of fabric as well. So the economy has to. She needed money to buy stuff. That's how we started this whole thing. Without her, probably we wouldn't come back. So it's very understandable that it is something to. I don't know. It's a good thing about the stitching is that the flying is not the torture anymore. I don't know when we can fly next time after COVID.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I can't remember what it was like to get on an airplane.
Yep. So you haven't been back to your
To New York? No.
no? Oh.
I haven't been on a plane since March 4th of 2020.
Ay. Well, same here. The last time was in last February, 13 months ago. Wow.
I flew to Vermont in October in between the second and third surges and saw my son. So
Did you fly?
I flew, yes. That's the only time I've flown. The planes were almost empty. It was good.
Yeah, world became something complete. I haven't offered any workshop for a year. That's another thing. I used to have it every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Now everything is online, which is great, but
Have you
very
had a lot of people doing it online?
um yes and no. I kind of caps the numbers of workshop because I want to make sure that I can follow up enough. So it's not like I can go there and have 6 or 8 workshop, not a workshops, participant in one workshop. I have different format. But yeah, people are taking. I really appreciate that. But I think it's a. Is it okay to say it's a lifetime technique to
Yes.
stitch like this? Lifetime technique. Oh, this is another thing I want to ask Caroline. Do you think you can undo this stitching? Somebody is very much worried about if they forget about Sashiko stitching, how to stitch Sashiko.
Oh, do I think I will forget? No.
Like forget or undo it. Some people try to undo it, but they keep saying that they cannot undo it. They want to do regular stitching, but they
Oh. I don't know. I've done regular stitching for so many years before I learned Sashiko that for me it's okay. I know how to do them both, but I could see that happening. I could see how you are only doing, like, you've done Sashiko and you really didn't do that much regular stitching or
Mhm.
Western stitching or whatever, and so you kind of forget how to do it. Yeah, I could see that.
Okay. So there are a lot of kind of stitching in Japan. Like this is not only one Sashiko stitching. Each region has their different style, different format, different kata form. Form is Japanese word. I mean, the kata is Japanese word for the form. And some people gave me the question like, how can I undo it? Like, what do you mean by undo it? She
They
wanted to
mean
go back.
unlearn?
Well, she wanted to go back to the technique she was using it before she took my workshop, but she felt much comfortable using this one, and she said, well, is there any way to kind of not unlearn it but to use both techniques?
Yeah, practice. I think-
Exactly.
Yeah, practice.
That's what I exactly told her, like, please practice. It might be uncomfortable again to
Yeah.
redo it, but by doing it probably you can do both. And yeah, I think I can do both as well. I'm
I
now
do. If
practicing. Go ahead.
Well, if I'm stitching a seam with multiple layers, I use my old technique. So
You do?
just, yeah, I will. Because you can't, if you have enough layers, you can't make the fabric fold. You cannot
No.
get 10 stitches on the needle. So then I don't know, you just do it the other way and it still works. And if I'm working from the front, oh, this is a very long piece, something is wrong. Yeah. So I don't think it's that hard to go back and forth. It's just you're going to be more comfortable with whichever one you do the most.
Now I'm just, because she asked me the question, I'm kind of learning not learning. I am practicing the way the other people do running a stitch in Japan.
Mhm.
So this is one of the thimble I didn't show you, but I made it like 7 years ago before I gained 30 or 40 pounds. And I was practicing with this one last night and my finger got so purple.
Yeah, Sashiko should not be dangerous to your health. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I was practicing it for like 1 hour, and I realized that my finger was completely purple, and it was super scary then. So I didn't realize that I get fat on the finger.
Oh yeah, True.
It does?
you get fat and thin everywhere, right?
I didn't know that.
And you gain and lose weight. It's kind of everywhere. It's all or nothing, I think.
I thought that it's leather, so leather shrunk, but it's probably
You could
me
probably
gain-
stretch it out. If you wet it and stretch it, it might stretch out again.
Yeah, probably. But I don't want to lose my finger neither. This is pretty important, middle finger. There was a question from Emily. I was wondering if there were regional variation in Sashiko in Japan. I'm glad you answered that question. Thanks. Yes, there's a lot of variations. It's millions, probably millions. Million. Well, million is a little bit exaggerating, but there are a lot of difference. And
is the variation in the way that you do the stitching, or is the variation in the design, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Even in my family, there are two ways. This is not the universal. So this is one way, right? I don't know if you can see that. And you
Okay.
can do this way too.
Wait, I'm gonna hold on. Let me pin your thing so I can see it bigger.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
How do you make it
Go ahead.
bigger? Oh, you could show
I
the
have
screen.
to do. I have to do it probably.
Okay.
Is this okay?
Yeah, I can see it.
Is this pinned? Just a second, okay? How can I pin it? Pin. It's probably pinned. Just a second. So this is the regular thing you usually look at, right?
Yeah.
Whoever talks, I can make big, but that's not helpful.
So I'm not gonna go into details, but you just change the angle and use the index finger, not the middle finger.
Ah.
Like this. You may not see a lot of difference,
I
but
can barely
It's
tell
not a
the
lot
difference.
different.
so
Yeah.
this one and this one.
It's kind of the same.
No. It's you please try it when you get a chance to do it.
Okay.
Oh, it makes my hand feel instantly cramped.
See, that's the thing. Like, so we had two ramification, two big. How do you call those things in the English? Two group of artisans who had a
Yes.
middle finger and index finger. And I'm the one. I was in the minority group doing in the middle finger, but the good thing about middle finger is that everybody can do it when they learn the posture. The index finger one, there are sometimes difficulties when they do it. So sometimes the hand shape or hand size can be the big obstacle, and I don't know how to teach. I can do it, but I don't know how to teach well, and it's very disappointing or very disencouraging. It's not good for the students to realize that they cannot do it because of their hand size. It's very sad. Like if they come to the workshop and if they learn that they cannot do it because of their hand size or hand posture, it's very sad. And I just decided to not to teach one way, and I focused on the way. Like I end up with this, the way I teach now. So you got it with the middle finger. Go ahead.
Which way does your mother do it?
She doesn't do the way I do. So you may be a little bit confused. Well, I will explain that when you come to my mother's house, but the running stitch I do and my mother does is kind of not the same. It's very similar, but it's different.
Can you tell by looking at stitches which way somebody does it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So what gives it away? How are the stitches different?
This is my specialty. This is very much my specialty, but since I was I look at Sashiko stitchings pretty much every single day, I can tell who's stitching if I see it enough. I can probably tell the Sharon stitching out of 100 stitches, same as Caroline's, yours too. That's very creepy, but I can probably tell.
Wow.
That's how people's rhythm is gonna be on stitch. Or probably you can tell my stitches are different from the other people's too, if you see that.
Oh yeah.
So like go to my Instagram and you probably can see who stitched which. Like if that photos are either mine or my mother's. They're pretty
Yes, and
big
I can tell
difference.
which is which.
See?
Yeah.
You can probably tell. Well, this is probably Atsushi's, this is probably mother's. Probably somebody's one, but So
to look and see why I think that.
and even like when you are feeling very sad or down, the stitches become different. When you're angry, stitches become so smaller. It's better than those, COVID test. I can probably tell that I got COVID when my stitches became so strange. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry. I don't have a COVID positive. But yeah, stitches are very, very, very interesting. That's. I don't think I'm the best Sashiko stitcher, and I don't think I can be. But only things if I can be very much proud of what I have as Sashiko's stitcher, I have seen so many Sashiko in my life. I didn't want to, but I had to see that. So, oh, there was the message to Caroline. Caroline, I'm sorry about the hand. When mine are bad, I can't do anything and I get depressed. I hope you get better soon. Atsushi, I really wish you could take your online workshop. Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
so nice.
See, this is the community. This is the community I wanted to make. And, my goal is now completed. So, what is next?
Yeah.
What is next? But it's kind of rare to have this kind of community in this world, especially under COVID. I haven't hung out with my friends.
Yeah, me neither.
It's so sad. I mean,
It's very sad. Although I do have actually for the last year, once a week, I've been seeing my craft friends. We have a Zoom once a week, every Sunday morning. So I saw them this morning.
that's good.
On Zoom, and we talk about what we're working on and stuff. Yeah, it's amazing. It's been incredibly helpful mentally to have this amazing group of women who I see every week.
How many friends are in that group?
There are 9 of us all together.
Wow.
Sometimes not all 9 are around, depends on what people are doing, but
Right.
So before COVID, did you get together in person?
yes, but not every week. Well, some for maybe less than every week, but we saw each other a lot. Yes, but yeah.
Online or offline?
No, we
Before the
saw each
COVID.
other in person
Oh,
in New York
wow.
before COVID.
Wait,
So,
you probably told about that group before.
it was a craft. It was started as a rug hooking group, and we had a once monthly rug hooking meeting. But then it kind of evolved into everybody just brings whatever craft they want to do.
Yeah, probably that's why you told me that.
Yeah.
No, the scrap fabric. No, that's a different thing, I guess.
Oh, fab scrap. That's
Yeah.
yes, that's a different thing, but also
Okay.
also very cool.
Yeah, so that's really we have to do, not have to, but it's the sense of community is very important, helpful.
Yeah, very.
I do have the Japanese one too. Every 2 weeks we get together online. It's closed one, but we just get together and talk something very nothing important, but
And are most of the people in Japan, or are they all over the world?
they're in Japan. The people
all
who
in
can speak Japanese, so I don't have to really worry about anything.
Well, I just thought maybe there are some people in America like you who speak
Oh,
Japanese.
they are.
Okay.
They're from all over the world, but just sometimes I don't join that, so I have to make sure that somebody else can control that.
Mhm.
But yeah, sometimes they stitch for 14 hours.
Wow.
That was crazy. So I started at night in the US, which is in the morning in Japan. And I said, okay, I'm sorry, it's getting too late, so I'm gonna go to sleep. In the morning, I woke up, they were still stitching. And I went to, take care of my daughter. After lunch, they were still stitching. Then before dinner, they said they have to go sleep. of course they have to go to sleep because like 4 a.m. or something in Japan. So like, wow. I wasn't stitching. It's just community that I was running around. But it's doable. Like this live streaming can go up till how many hours you want if we have enough topics to talk, or if I. It's getting late. That's the thing. But well, it's not late for you. Sharon and Caroline's not that late.
No, it's only
It's
7
not late
o'clock.
here. It's only 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Aye. It's 10 o'clock here.
Carolyn, are you in Florida or are you in California? Where are you
No.
now?
I'm in California.
Ah.
So it's 7 p.m.
Will you go back to New York eventually, or are you out of there?
I hope to go back there some, yes. But my primary residence is now California.
I wanna go to California.
It's very beautiful here.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I love the place I live, I sometimes wonder why I'm here. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's a nice place, but you know, I'm an immigrant, so I had a choice, right? Technically speaking, I had a choice. We could have decided, well, it's the job. It's pretty much the job opportunity.
You moved for love, which is very romantic.
Yes, love in the middle of Pennsylvania. That doesn't sound good. I'm sorry. That didn't sound good. Yeah, thank you so much. It has been almost 1 hour. Can you believe it? I cannot believe it. I wasn't stitching so much. My lips are very weird. Something is. I hope it's not bleeding. Let me check my.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I have another question when there is time. Go ahead. Please ask the question so I may be able to answer. Go ahead. We will wrap it up fairly soon, but we still have time to do it. So this is the Sashiko Talk I try to offer regularly, pretty much every Sunday around this time. Not every Sunday, every other Sunday. So every 2 weeks on Sunday night, I would like to offer this live streaming with the guest. And most likely I will ask Caroline and Sharon first if they can join us. At the same time as I will ask the other friends if they can join as well.
I won't be offended if you want to mix it up.
What do you mean?
Definitely.
Well, like you can join, you can be quiet, or you can, be. But the point is that you can stitch, and you don't have to speak up if I don't ask. And you, of course, you can just stitch without being in the Zoom as well. That's very much up to you. But this is the place that I like to keep offering. And I sometimes it was very difficult to continue the live stream by myself, talking to myself.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's hard to talk to yourself for an hour. I mean, yeah.
I can do it in Japanese, and I did it in Japanese, and I do it in Japanese as well. And I can do it when I have enough topic or enough questions from the audience, or prepared something. I could do that, but that was very challenging under COVID because I couldn't make it regularly. So, all right. So the question is something I love about another video about Sashiko you made. You talk about how Sashiko was a way to care about your loved ones. By repairing clothes, you could care for them and keep them warm. How much do you think remains of this feeling in Sashiko today? That's a very good question. How much do I think that the caring remains of the feeling in Sashiko today? I would like to say a whole. It is the same caring that they did. Back then, the caring is more like both negative and positive feeling that they had to stitch for the kids or for the husband. I don't think every single woman enjoyed Sashiko stitching. I don't think so. It's kind of too much to idealism Sashiko itself. Some people really didn't like stitching back then too. So the care, sometimes when I say care, it doesn't mean that it's a love. A hatred can be a lot. I mean, hatred can be the part of caring as well. For me, the opposite word of caring is ignorance, like ignoring somebody. It's not caring and not caring. So for today's society, when we stitch, we have to think about something. Can be someone, something, including myself. It's kind of difficult to just stitch without thinking. So the moment we think is the sign of care. So I think Sashiko stitching itself is the sign. It's a practice of caring. That's my definition of Sashiko, which I didn't describe last time, which I should have described. But Sashiko is a stitching with care. And that's why I teach. I share the importance of not focusing on the result much. Like, I don't want you to focus on the result, how perfect those stitches are, how precise those stitches are. I want you to focus on the rhythm and movement of this needlework so you can have enough time to think or talk while stitching. So what do you think? What do you think? The question, the comment was, I talked about how Sashiko was a way to care about our loved ones by repairing clothes, by stitching. How much do you think it remains of this kind of feeling in Sashiko today, in the Sashiko you do? The question was understandable. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I think you can often tell when you look at a project if it was done with caring. And I like those. And some are very sterile and not interesting to me. I mean, maybe they served the person who made it and it was satisfying. So I think it's important. I don't know if it always happens. How's that?
But you can tell the difference that you.
I think so. Yes. Yes. My aunt had a friend who she made a jacket for herself and it was beautiful fabric and it was well made. And then she Sashiko stitched it and she hated doing the stitching and you could tell. And it was really sad. I was like, why would you do this when you hate doing it so much? Because it kind of, in some ways, it almost ruined the jacket. I don't know. So yeah, I think that when you're doing it for someone, sometimes just caring, I don't know, this project I'm working on now, it has this little design where the indigo, it was masked, you know, because it was a tarizome. The fabric is way weaker where the indigo was not. As I'm stitching, I'm seeing that. I don't know. And so I'm not caring necessarily for a person, I'm caring for this fabric.
Well, that's another sign of caring, though. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be somebody specifically. Like, you know, it's kind of impossible to love somebody continuously for 24/7. So
yeah.
that's feeling. But again, I think stitching requires some emotional movement. Like, if like robot cannot do, well, robot can do Sashiko, but the difference is very.
Yeah, it'll look ugly. Yeah, it'll look horrible.
It won't be interesting in any way, will it?
Yeah.
It might make strong fabric, but it won't be interesting.
Yeah.
In 2007 or 6, the Sashiko machine kicked into the market. And I was the, manager of Sashiko business, and I was kind of scared of that. But many people ask me if it's going to be okay to have those things. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to lose your job? And of course, I checked it, and they are beautiful. For me, some people ask me if I hate those Sashiko machines, but I really don't hate. It's a different category. It's very much a different categories. So, you know, it's I like both Burger King and some nice burgers. I like Domino's. I like the pizza in New York. Those are, different. Does it make sense? But yeah, so I think needlework, hand needlework involves some caring, and otherwise we cannot do it. We cannot just be blank when we stitch. How about you, Caroline? Do you have something to say about this? Can you share something?
I mean, I agree that there's a beauty to hand stitching that you don't find in machine stitching. It's just not the same.
Do you have somebody you care in you stitching, or well, I mean, it doesn't have to be the same person or same things, but do you think you have same caring when you stitch?
I mean, I think it depends. Yeah, if I'm stitching something specifically for someone or repairing and, something for someone, it feels special. Yeah, there's something special that comes from inside that goes into it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the feeling of caring. I mean.
And if I'm making something and it doesn't feel right, then it tells me I shouldn't be working on it.
That's another thing. Yes, like if you cannot keep stitching if it doesn't feel right.
I mean, I've done it, but it's not
you have
fun.
Done that? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
And it comes out looking bad.
I have removed so many stitches. This thread I'm using now, I took a lot of it out. I added a piece of fabric and now it's stitching better.
Why did you take it out? Because it's
I didn't like the way it looked. I was just using this new fabric, which is kind of a loose weave, and it just didn't look right. So what I'm doing is my cousin has this really nice piece of Tsutsugaki, but it's not long enough to be a scarf. And so I bought this fabric to make an extension, but then I wanted to have some stitching on it. And when I did the stitching, it wasn't working. So now I've also added this piece, and I think it's going to look good now. Good. So
that's a joy. That's that's more like a joy that put into the caring.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm just saying, I don't finish projects that don't work well. In fact, now I undo them. I just am like, nope, that's not what it should be. And I take it out and I do it over.
Welcome to the artisan side.
Huh?
Welcome to the artisan side.
Yeah, no, for sure. If it's not working, you gotta stop and it's not worth it.
That's what my mother does. So. I mean, I have no problem with that, but my mother makes something and she decided to take it apart. But as the business side of me, when somebody
it gets expensive, yes.
Somebody else might have liked it.
I get it.
If she sent me the photo of the jacket, she shouldn't tear it apart without talking to me. She sometimes does.
You've already sold it.
No, it's already on the website and people looking at it. And why? I mean, it's not like they can click and put in the cart. It's quite expensive, so they don't buy it like that. But when they received the inquiry, I asked my mom, like, "Do you still have it?" And she said, "No, the piece of it is there. It's
Funny.
Piece of it is there. It's kind of scary. It's very piece of it is there. It's kind of scary. Emily's comment, I suppose I was thinking about the difference in feeling when you look at Sashiko made for you by someone you know and Sashiko that is made for market or customer. Yes. For that, this is the back of this background. I learned how to do this background. This is this Sashiko jacket that my mom made for me to teach Sashiko in New York. You probably saw that, Caroline.
Yeah.
But
It's-
that is the, go ahead.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, yeah, as you know.
Yep, that's the probably what my mother cared about me the most. After that, what she gives me is a little bit different. She's more like playing. But back then we were very desperate. No, we were very in need of something new. And she wanted to, well, in order to explain what borrow is, I had to have something to show. And that's what my mother made out of 10 years of her collection. She put everything together to make one big borrow jacket. So I think we can feel, and there are a big difference for the how another way to put it this way. So my mother sometimes take the order from the customers. She does not share the process because she thinks that her caring to the customer might be vented by the customer's preference. So she listened to the preference very well before she started making, but after she started making the jacket, she doesn't really listen to the advice or any preference. And she makes two of those though. She makes the two. There's another reason she makes two, but the customer can choose whichever they wanted based on her understanding of the preference. So I think that's another sign of care. So I think, by the way, one more thing. My mother is a very artist side of person. She's very weird, but she always talks to the thread when she dyes thread. So it's very scary, but it's good. That's the care of her stitching and also dyeing as well. I hope I answered the question, and thank you so much for the answers from both of you. Okay. That was another great Sashiko talk. Thank you so much. I will come back on the next, 2 weeks from now, Sunday around the same time, 2 weeks from now. If you have any questions, by the way, is there anything that I can ask you to say, last comment or something?
Yeah.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, this was fun.
My English is getting somewhere. Like I have to prepare a little bit more. English is very difficult. Why English is so difficult? Anyway, so please leave any comments about the question. Please leave any questions as a comment so we can answer that. We can talk about it next time. And besides that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much. And this is Sashiko Talk number 4, and good night. Bye bye. Thank you so much.